How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the first off-season episode of NYY Recaps, where we're going to talk about the unfortunate early exit of the New York Yankees from the Division Series to the Tampa Bay Rays. Going to talk a little bit about the off-season plans, things that the Yankees can do to improve their team going forward, and talk a little bit about the reasons that they lost, in my opinion, and some ways that we might be able to improve for 2021 and make another run at this thing. Now, obviously, Yankees fans are growing a little bit tired of having one of the best teams on paper every year and then having the team kind of, disappoint in the postseason. Seems like year after year it's the same story. A great offense during the regular season that fails to hit during the postseason, or just not enough pitching to get it done. This year it was a combination of both of those things. So we're going to talk about it, and we will see if we can find some answers. So first things first, I got to give credit to the Tampa Bay Rays. They really pitched well in that series. They got timely hits, timely home runs, and they did it again last night. Depending on when you're watching this, they shut down the Astros in Game 1 of the American League Championship Series, and that was a offense that was red hot coming in. So they've got a whole staff full of guys who throw basically 100 miles an hour with a great hook, and that's a pretty good formula to be tough to hit. And so when the Yankees didn't hit in Game 5, it didn't surprise me because the Rays just pitched their butts off. Everybody who came out there was throwing strikes. They were being aggressive. They were getting 2 strikes on the Yankees and putting them away. Were the Yankees impacted by injuries? Devastated by injuries? Absolutely. Losing Luis Severino for the whole year really impacted them. He's a legitimate top end of the rotation starter. A couple years ago, I think he finished 3rd in the Cy Young voting. I think that was 2017. He's a guy who throws 100 miles an hour in his own right, and he can give you 7 innings. He's basically a younger version of Garrett Cole. Not quite as good, but he was on the same path to being that type of pitcher. We lost James Paxton, who was great down the stretch last year, really came up big in the postseason against the Astros. He was not the same pitcher after he had back surgery this year. I think James Paxton's time with the Yankees is done. Would not surprise me if they lowball him an offer and just kind of hope he takes it, but I don't see them giving him a legitimately good offer. But you might bring him back and just hope that he can fix it. I'm a little bit tired of the Yankees hunting in the bargain bin for starting pitchers, though. So losing Severino and Paxton obviously hurt us. Losing Tommy Kahnle for the whole season, and he's probably going to be out most of 2021. That really stretched out our bullpen. We had to go to guys like Loaizaga. We had to go to guys like Chad Green way too much. Going to Aroldis Chapman in the 7th inning. What the hell are you doing? So there were some definite problems with this season's pitching staff. There were a bunch of really perplexing managerial decisions. Who could forget the Game 2 decision? That may have cost them the season. Putting in Deivi Garcia to start that game, pulling him after 27 pitches, and putting in J. Happ, who couldn't get anybody out through 2 2/3. J. Happ, who had been pretty good against the Orioles down the stretch, the Blue Jays a couple times, but J. Happ is not a good pitcher anymore. He's in the upper 30s, and you've got a really exciting young pitcher who the Rays hadn't seen, by the way, Deivi Garcia. I don't think Deivi Garcia gives up 5 runs if you leave him in the game. And that takes the momentum away from the Yankees. They had won Game 1, and then you lose Game 2 in such a weird fashion. Then you lose Game 3. Now all of a sudden, you're 1 game away from elimination. And the entire team lost confidence in Aaron Boone's managerial decisions at that point. So, New Year, similar story. You run into a buzzsaw in the postseason, and the philosophy that got you there, home run or nothing during the regular season, it almost always works during the summer months in a short porch Yankee Stadium. You hit a ton of home runs. Easy to get power hitters these days. Everybody's got a launch angle. Everybody can hit home runs. That philosophy is not going to work. It didn't work in 2017, didn't work in 2018, didn't work in 2019, didn't work in 2020. How many times has it worked since 2001? It just doesn't work. You cannot load up on power hitters and hope to slug your way through the postseason. Otherwise, we'd be looking at the world champion Texas Rangers from 96 or world champion Cleveland Indians from 95. That philosophy does not work. You have to invest in pitching. And the Yankees, luckily, have some money coming off the books that they can reinvest in some different pitchers. Now, I don't know who they're going to be able to go out and get. Trevor Bauer is a free agent. He's a guy that has said he wants a one-year deal. He will require a lot of money. But the Yankees might not see him as a fit with their organizational culture. That's on them. If they're too set in their ways to change their culture and to realize that players and human beings are evolving and changing, people are going to be more active on social media. People are going to be more vocal in the clubhouse. If you don't want to deal with that, fine. Keep going home in the first round. But it's time to invest in a new strategy, because the old strategy that the old guard, the Cashmans, and all those guys that they invested in just isn't going to work. I don't care how many home runs you hit during the regular season. Look at the Minnesota Twins. They hit a ton of home runs. Look at the Chicago White Sox. They hit a ton of home runs. You've got to invest in a different strategy. You've got to have arms that can miss bats in big spots. Not just arms that can miss bats in big spots. I'm looking at you, Aroldis Chapman. Every year, Aroldis Chapman, who has, admittedly, an arm that lights up the radar gun, how many times has he gotten hit in big spots? Look at 2016 with the Cubs against the Indians. He serves up the big home run to Rajai Davis. And then last year, obviously, gets beat on his second best pitch to Altuve. This year, Broussard gets him with on a fastball inside. Chapman is not the closer you need. He's the wrong type of guy for this organization. He cares more about his fancy cars and his fancy jewelry, all his posting on Instagram. That's not a winning type of player. You've got to get guys that are on board with that team mentality. In New York, you cannot be that type of player. You've got to be a guy who puts his nuts on the line and cares about winning and only winning. And that's the only way to get it done. And it's an organizational philosophy that starts at the top. So if I'm Hal Steinbrenner, I'm taking a look at everybody below me, and I'm investing in winners, guys who know how to get it done. And I'm going out and getting young arms from other teams. If it means I have to trade some guys, if it means I have to move some guys, then that's just what I have to do. If I have to move an Aaron Hicks, then I'll move an Aaron Hicks. If I have to move a Gleyber Torres, and I don't want the Yankees to trade Gleyber Torres, but if you have to make that move, then you have to make that move. Obviously, the Yankees' number one priority is going to be signing DJ LeMahieu. I think that's a given. The Yankees want that guy who can make contact. You know, he was the batting champion for both leagues this season. He's a great hitter. He's a guy that you bring back. They have Luke Voight, who, admittedly, great home run hitter, but you have to look at what value does he really bring in the postseason. He had one home run. He basically was a no-show against any sliders, against any fastballs up in the zone he can be pitched to. And he's a liability on defense, which is why you saw him come out of the game. The Yankees have some serious issues. Now, Gio Urshela, two postseasons in a row, has disappeared in the postseason. He's a great defensive player, and I think you got to keep him around just for that reason. But, you know, he's just not the type of hitter that you can have during the postseason. You've got to have a different approach. I feel like Gary Sanchez is a guy who's played his last game as a Yankee. I feel like he's out of here. The dude, look, he can't hit. I get it. He has power. A lot of guys have power these days. It's easy to hit home runs these days because of the launch angle revolution. But he swings and misses way too much. And he can't hit a fastball over 95, 96 miles an hour. He just can't do it. And let's just call a spade a spade. He sucks behind the plate. He's not a good catcher. Yeah, he got a little bit better at framing. But how much do we really know about these analytics, these defensive analytics that show Mike Tauchman as the best outfielder in the game one season and then one of the worst the next year? There's something messed up with the data. It's too new. It's too new. You can't rely solely on the data. You have to use your eyes and watch the game. Every time I turn on the game, Gary Sanchez is dropping a ball or letting one get past. And then you watch Kyle Higashioka back there, and you can't get the ball by him. Kyle Higashioka has got to be your starting catcher next year. I think you have to take a look at first base. Luke Voight has a lot of trade potential right now because he's a guy that was on pace for about 50 home runs during the regular season. And he carried the Yankees this year when guys were down injured. Great job. Thank you very much, Luke Voight. Let's get somebody in there who hits base hits, who, can use the whole field. Maybe you shift DJ LeMahieu over to first base. Mike Lupica had a article where he suggested doing that. That allows you to put Gleyber Torres back at shortstop or at second base. Then maybe you sign a Francisco Lindor, who's an outstanding defensive player. He can switch hit. Now, granted, he's going to be expensive. Probably not a direction the Yankees would go, but it's something to think about. I think you keep Gio Urshela over there at third base, but Miguel Andujar is exactly the type of hitter you need if he can come back to his 2018, excuse me, that form where he's hitting line drives all over the field. How nice would it have been to have Miguel Andujar ripping doubles in that series? The Yankees had, 3 or 4 hits in Game 5? You've got to do better than that. So, in my opinion, the Yankees have got to just kind of look and see at creative ways that they can adjust this team. In left field, I think you have to go with Clint Frazier. Clint Frazier barely touched the field in this series, and that is a shame. I know Brett Gardner played okay at times, but Clint Frazier is a guy who rises to the occasion. He's got lightning bat speed. He did everything you asked of him. He got so much better on defense, and you just didn't even use him. Aaron Hicks. He had a couple of nice hits. He had a couple of good games. But we need somebody who can do more than just walk, right? We need somebody who cares more about, getting line drives, hitting the ball hard, than just taking pitches and trying to hit a home run every swing. Look at that big loopy left-handed swing. That's not a good hitter. Are you kidding me? There's a reason he hits 220. All right, I'm going off on a rant here, but excuse me for a minute. And then Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, you can't count on these guys to be healthy, so you've got to load up on depth. Judge and Stanton are not going anywhere. Stanton because of his contract and because of what he showed you in the postseason. He's obviously a great hitter when he's healthy. And Judge, he's the heart and soul of your team. And he's going to want to make up for a lackluster performance this offseason. He's going to want to come back healthy. But in my opinion, he has to prove that he's healthy before you can really count on him. So the Yankees need to invest in depth in the outfield. Right now, you have one outfielder that I can count on, and that's Clint Frazier. And the Yankees didn't frickin' use him. Brett Gardner's older than shit. How the hell are you going to put him back out there when he hits 220 during the season and can't catch up to an upper 90s fastball? You just can't do it. You can't trust him. So I feel like the Yankees have a lot of different ways that they can go. They need to be creative. This team needs a makeover. And let's get to the coaching staff. Marcus Thames is your hitting coach? What did Marcus Thames ever do? Marcus Thames is not a good hitting coach. The Tigers have expressed interest in bringing him as a manager. I say have him. Take him. I'm done with this new age launch angle bullshit. Get somebody in there who understands the value of hitting line drives. Bring in Wade Boggs as your hitting coach. Wade Boggs. He understands the strike zone, and he understands making contact. He understands the approach that you have to have against certain pitchers. Wade Boggs would be a tremendous hitting coach. Paul O'Neill probably doesn't want to leave Studio 21. He would be a great guy to have as a hitting coach because he knows not to give away at bats, not to try and say every pitch, well, I'm just going to gear up and hit a home run. That's not an approach that works against good pitching. You've got to get guys who understand how to hit situationally, guys who can hit line drives. The stat heads are going to look at this series, and they're going to look at Game 5, and they're going to say, the Yankees lost 2-1. All 3 runs in the game were scored on home runs. Home runs must be the way to score. No, that's the wrong way to look at it. You could have scored more runs if you took a different approach. Now, yes, the shift is going to eliminate, the ability for you to get a lot of singles and stuff. But get guys who can hit against the shift. They can't shift against LeMahieu. I get it. LeMahieu didn't do much in Game 5, but, 9 times out of 10, he's going to hit. And if you get a couple more guys who take that approach, who take that line-to-line approach, it's going to help you out. So get more guys like LeMahieu, guys who can use the whole field, hit line drive, have a little bit of power, can take you deep if you make a mistake, but guys who aren't going up there thinking home run first, contact second. That approach is done. Finished. Finito. Got to get rid of that. Aaron Boone, he's too nice, and he makes a bunch of dumb decisions. Bad decisions. I think you need a guy who understands how to be a clubhouse leader. What has Aaron Boone ever led? He's never been a leader. He was an also-ran that the Yankees picked up at the deadline who happened to run into a knuckleball for a home run in the ALCS. I've got the manager for you. You ready? CC Sabathia. CC Sabathia brings the right type of energy, the right type of leadership. He understands that the game is played on the field. That's who you got to bring in as your manager. If CC Sabathia won't do it, I guarantee you Derek Jeter will sell you Don Mattingly's contract. The Marlins are always looking for money. Don Mattingly has finally learned how to be a good manager. He was a bit green. He was a bit he was a great player, right? And great players aren't always great managers until they get experience because it comes naturally to them. And I feel like Mattingly, when he first had his opportunity to interview as the Yankees manager back before the 2008 season, the Yankees disregarded him because they didn't think he fit in. But Don Mattingly is a proven New York icon. He understands how to play in New York. He understands that you can't have guys that are concerned with their jewelry and their showboating. You've got to get guys who put their head down, keep their mouths shut, and win the game. Don Mattingly would be an excellent choice for the next Yankees manager. And in my opinion, Brian Cashman does not get a pass. I love Brian Cashman to death. I think he's a wonderful GM. He's made a number of great moves. He got us Luke Voight for Chase and Shreve and Giovanni Gallegos. But Gallegos has turned into a pretty good reliever. I didn't see what he did this year, but for a while there, he was the type of reliever that they needed. He's picked up a lot of, guys who were kind of overlooked and turned them into great players. Chad Green, for instance. But he also is a bit stubborn and won't change his strategy. I get it. Home runs are exciting. They put fans in the stands. But you've got to play baseball. You've got to play all aspects of the game. You've got to have a good defense. The Yankees' defense has been atrocious this year. I think they were the worst in the league this year. You're not going to win anything with the worst defense in the league. Come on. And I know it wasn't defense that cost him the series, but if you don't improve it, eventually it will be what costs you a series. Right? So, I feel like Cashman has the wrong priorities. I feel like there's plenty of guys out there who you could bring in that will use the Yankees' resources to just bulldoze the rest of this league. I don't care if you mortgage the future. This team wants to win. We have a window. We have Aaron Judge. We have Giancarlo Stanton. We have Garrett Cole. We have some of the best players in the league. We have a young superstar shortstop, Gleyber Torres, who if you don't trade him will probably end up being a star. But you may have to trade him to improve other aspects of the team. I've seen that talked about. I'm not on board with trading him, but some of you may be. And I'm not the person who's going to make that decision. But if you put me in that situation, if you made me the GM, and I'm not applying for the job, although, hey, if you offer me, what's up? But, you have to listen. You have to listen to everything, and you have to be open-minded. You can't hug your prospects at the trading deadline and stand pat just because you don't want to give up a guy that you drafted in the 3rd or 4th round a few years ago who had a good Double-A season last year. You can't do that. You can't do that. You have to consider getting Jason Dominguez into this lineup at age 19, which means if you have to rush him through the minor leagues next year, if he's as good as you say, rush him, baby. Put him on the fast track. Juan Soto did it. Juan Soto was in the major leagues at 19 years old. Why can't Dominguez be? Dominguez is supposedly the best prospect in a half a century. Put him on the fast track. Youth wins in baseball. And in my opinion, the Yankees have gone about things the wrong way. They need to do an entire organizational reevaluation. Hell, bring me in. I'm happy to talk to you about it and give you some pointers because I've been watching this team for 33 years and I've seen the same story year after year after year. Failure to hit good pitching in the postseason. And I know that good pitching beats good hitting, which is why you need to go out and get good pitching. Give Bauer whatever the hell he asks for. If he wants a 1-year deal at $35, $36 million, guess what? Write him a check, baby. That's what it's going to take. You have to put your cojones on the line. You have to spend big if you want to win big. A rotation of Garrett Cole, Trevor Bauer, Luis Severino, and Davy Garcia in the postseason goes to the World Series. Even if you have to lose a couple of guys on offense, if you lose Luke Voight, for a couple of arms, you have to do it. You have to do it. You have to load up that bullpen. You have to get rid of guys like Gary Sanchez and Aroldis Chapman, who are the wrong type of players mentally for New York. Gary Sanchez is mentally defeated. He is mentally done. Did you see the look on his face on the bench? He's in no position to be at a top-tier athlete position. Let him go play in San Francisco. I'm sure he'll do fantastic. So the Yankees, I'm sorry if this was kind of a crazy rant, but the Yankees have some serious evaluations to do because what they've done is not going to be good enough. And I have a feeling that you need to really get under the hood and tune some things up. So let's talk about the off-season content here a little bit. I'm bringing back Season 2 of Top 5 episodes, starting with Top 5 2020 Moments. And that will be coming out in a couple of weeks. That will be followed up by the Top 5 off-season priorities for the Yankees slightly before the winter meetings, which I don't know if those are going to be virtual meetings or whatever, but, we'll see how it goes. But I'll definitely be firing those up. I've got some other ones planned, Billy Martin moments, things like that. So stay tuned for more great content from this channel.
If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It helps YouTube suggest this channel to other Yankees fans.